When you think of Queen, you picture packed stadiums, dramatic lighting, and the unmatched voice of Freddie Mercury. But in 1970, Queen was not yet a global sensation. It was a group of young musicians taking their first, uncertain steps toward greatness. Their first gig wasn't a triumphant debut. It was a quiet moment in a small venue, arranged by a mother for a charity event. That first show took place on June 27, 1970. It was organized by the British Red Cross and booked under the name Smile. The previous band, formed by guitarist Brian May, drummer Roger Taylor, and bassist vocalist Tim Staffel. Roger Taylor's mother, who was involved with the charity, helped organize the event and posted advertisements for it as early as February of that year. By the time of the performance, Smile had already begun to dissolve. Tim Staffel had left the band on March 29, 1970, feeling frustrated by the lack of progress after their single, Earth, failed to make an impact in the US. With Tim gone, Brian and Roger began reimagining what the band could become. Mike Gross, an early associate of Roger's from a band called Johnny Quail and the Reaction, stepped in to fill the role of bassist. He had previously performed with Brian and Roger during a couple of cover-heavy shows at a venue called PJ's, which he co-owned. The three musicians shared vocal duties during those shows, which were held in April. Though these performances were technically under the Smile name, the lineup was clearly evolving. At one of these April shows, they replaced a band called Sour Milk Sea, a group whose singer had just departed. That singer was Freddie Bulsara. Freddie had been a regular at Smile gigs, attending shows and offering support. He was close to Brian May, even living with him at the time. He was more than just a fan. He had opinions. He was deeply passionate about the music. But he also believed that Smile lacked a sense of theatricality. In his view, their stage presentation wasn't connecting with the audience. Freddie often told Brian and Roger that they weren't dressing correctly or interacting enough with the crowd. Brian later recalled Freddie saying, "This is really good, it's great how you're aware of building up atmospheres and bringing them down, but you're not dressing right. You're not addressing the audience properly. There's always opportunity to connect." Between April and June of 1970, that energy turned into action. Freddie joined forces with Brian and Roger musically. According to roadie Ken Testy, they were already using the name Queen by the time of the June 27th gig. This was later confirmed by Roger Taylor, who posted a photo of his diary entry from June 27, mentioning the band's name as Queen. Another photo shared at the time reveals they had considered calling the band Stone Cold Crazy just days earlier. The June 27 performance, held at a Red Cross charity event, marked the first time the core trio of what would become Queen, Freddie Mercury, Brian May, and Roger Taylor, performed live together in public. John Deacon had not yet joined the band. It was Mike Gross handling bass duties. Doug Puttyfoot, a close friend of the band, took some of the earliest known photos during this time, including what are believed to be shots from their first rehearsal at Imperial College. Others were taken at one of the two early shows with Mike Gross on bass, though the exact date remains unclear. Puttyfoot also filmed the only known video footage of Smile, taken at their Royal Albert Hall performance in 1969, and he would go on to design the cover for Queen's debut album using photos from a 1971 party. As for the performance itself, the band took the stage under just two lights. The audience was small. The equipment was modest. The set list, though not fully known, included a mix of covers, Smile songs, and at least two originals that would later appear in Queen's catalog. According to a 1977 interview in Circus magazine, Freddie remembered the first song they played as Stone Cold Crazy. It was reportedly the only original track performed that night. The version played was rougher and, in some accounts, slower than the fast-paced version that would later appear on Sheer Heart Attack in 1974. Some thought it was an early attempt from Freddie's previous group, but Brian May later confirmed in 1998 that it was essentially the same version, only with early variations. Roger Taylor recalled that the band also played Son and Daughter, which would later be featured on their debut album. Other songs in the set were likely covers of Led Zeppelin, possibly including Communication Breakdown, which Freddie had previously sung with his former band, Wreckage. They may also have performed Smile's Doin' All Right, a song that would eventually be re-recorded and retitled Doing All Right on Queen's first LP. Mike Gross remembered the night as far from polished. He said, "We tried to hide the gaffes, but to be brutally frank, we were rough." Roger Taylor was equally candid, recalling that Freddie's early voice had potential but hadn't fully matured. Freddie didn't have the technique he developed later on. He sounded a little bit like a very powerful sheep. Still, despite the imperfections, the gig earned them £50, a respectable sum at the time. Roger later recalled feeling quite wealthy as a result. In a 2018 interview, he added, "That was actually arranged by my mother in aid of the Red Cross. We were paid £50, which was quite a lot of money back then. I'm not sure many people turned up though." Freddie and Brian had already begun developing their now legendary sound. Both were fans of Rory Gallagher, whose band Taste had played at the Marquee Club. Brian, impressed by Gallagher's tone, asked him after a show how he achieved the sound. Gallagher replied that he ran a Dallas Rangemaster treble booster into a Vox AC30 amp. That setup would become Brian May's signature sound. Even back in 1969, concert programs already listed the Vox AC30 as part of his rig. Though early photos from a Smile recording session show him using a Fender amp, it's widely accepted that Brian had switched to the Vox AC30 and treble booster setup by the time Queen was officially formed. He also began using a 6-pence coin instead of a guitar pick, an unusual choice that contributed to his uniquely sharp, articulate guitar tone. The journey from Smile to Queen didn't happen in a single moment. It was a gradual evolution with shifting members, borrowed songs, and changing names. But that June night in 1970, under 2 dim lights, in front of a sparse audience, was the moment Queen truly began. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't glamorous, but it was real. And from that raw, uncertain beginning, one of the greatest rock bands of all time was born.